Okay. Welcome to the Gravel Lot, the place where bikes are for everyone.
The Gravel Lot podcast is presented by Be Free Ride Bikes Apparel, providing a fully customized cycling apparel experience to provide you and your team the attention to detail and personal touch that you deserve.
And also brought to you by Grimpour Brothers Coffee, offering handmade coffee roasted weekly in small batches to give you the finest quality coffee to start your day. Choose their subscription service and earn your free bag of coffee today.
And by Hand Up Gloves. Great gear, better times. Providing a wide range of apparel for bikes, snow sports, and golf in multiple designs and fits to let your personality shine.
Our goal with the Gravel Lot is to inspire cyclists of all stripes to ride bikes, share their story, and have fun. We love all bikes and anyone who wants to ride them. So no matter where you sit on the spectrum of bikes, we'll always have a place for you in the Gravel Lot.
And now, the hosts of TGL, John Woolry and Doug McClintock.
Hello and welcome back to the Gravel Lot, the official podcast of all things cycling. I'm John, that's Doug, and we are so glad that you guys found us for this, our 200th episode of the Gravel Lot. Holy cow.
I've got a lot of gray. I just realized when I leaned down on camera, I got a lot of gray hairs, and I think most of them have come during the course of the Gravel Lot.
I know. Last 2 years, I got a lot showing up on my chin. Thankfully, they haven't made their way north yet, but I'm sure that they're not far away. So
they're marching north.
Regardless, whether you are somebody that has been around since episode 1 or you are a new Pebble, welcome. We are so happy that you are here. Welcome to the show. So for the new folks, what is TGL? We explain it each and every week, so this week is going to be absolutely no different. Long story short, Doug and I fully believe that the only thing better than a bike ride is sharing a bike ride with your friends. So obviously we love bikes, we love riding bikes, we love talking about bikes. But I think more than that, we love hearing people tell their story, and we love being curious and asking questions about their story. So from us to you guys, we hope that no matter what ride you are on, what story you're telling, we want you to know that you will always have a place here, a home here in the Gravel Lot with us to tell your story. So if you like what you hear today and believe in what we're doing, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those places, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click on the podcast and subscribe to the podcast so you can get it every other week. And I say it every week, and I feel like I try and make it organic every week, but it just ends up sounding the same. Tell the internet the things that the internet wants to be told to know that something's good.
That's I don't know. Text Elon Musk.
Yeah. Tell the
Tell
bots.
him.
Yeah, tell the bots what they need to hear, because my niece in Cleveland posted something today on Facebook that some artificial intelligence that we built has figured out how to reproduce, and I'm just like, so we're done. It's
cool.
over.
We're good. I'll be outside. I'll be outside.
We're done.
I will be outside. Forget about this. I'll be outside for this season. I think that's how this works.
Show's over. Show's over.
Show's over. They can reproduce us. That is pretty fucking impressive.
They can reproduce each other.
Right, which means they'll eventually lead to reproducing us.
I thought we're going to be batteries.
Whatever.
I'm in the Matrix philosophy.
You're the Matrix. Yeah, Neo.
Whatever.
It's okay. So leave your comments below today. If you're watching the live stream, we'd love to have you here and get your comments. Hit the link up in our show notes. Go to our Etsy store, our website. Check out all the stuff we have there. Go on over to Patreon. Support us there if you can. And also go visit all the partners who are mentioned in the intro. They do amazing things. We're proud to have them on board, and they've been with us for a long time. We'll talk a little bit more about them later on, and they do an amazing job and support great products. They're small businesses. Support them this holiday season if you can. We'd love to have that. Also, if you want to send questions, feedback, or anything like that, you can certainly do so. Website, any form of social media, we're happy to grab you there. Our voicemail, you can hit us up 513-400-5577. We'd love to chat with you. So yeah, episode 200, we're here. This is a milestone.
It is. Well, I think back to, and I've made some comments about it leading up to this, knowing that, I think I've had a couple derivations in shows talking about what this show has meant and how different me specifically I am and how I engage with the world, but sitting down and starting a podcast with the premise of we're going to teach people what why you're not supposed to ride on wet trails.
Which, to be clear, you're not supposed to ride on wet trails.
Correct. Which for anyone
Except in
that's
British
joined us
Columbia.
for
Go
any
for
length
that.
of time, like, know that that's where we started. Like, that was the premise of the gravel lot, and it's certainly not what you guys know it as today. But I think that journey in and of itself is kind of a good metaphor for where Doug and I were when we started. How we engaged with cycling then versus how we engage with it now, how we engage with the world then versus how we do now,
Yeah, yeah.
and really where we are, just kind of in our own personal spaces in terms of how this show has helped forge who we are, how we think. And I feel like it's made both of us much better human beings. Obviously you, because you found Ellen. I think TGL should take a little bit of credit for that.
No, no, no. I mean, I think it definitely helped with awareness of
Yes,
my
yes.
like
It helped
it helped,
the aided awareness piece of
yeah,
it. Yeah.
aided awareness for my future relationship. Yes, I was aided awareness. Can we is there like a ROI on that we can look into and see if like Ellen can kick us some bucks or something? I mean, I'm good.
You're on the hook to quantify that one because I'm
Okay,
not
right,
putting a
cool.
dollar amount against your love.
Yeah, no, you can't. You cannot. You cannot. But no, it's true. I think TGL has some credit for that. I do remember when we did release the UC cycling episode after we spoke with Mackenzie Green, and who else was in that show with us? Um, Man, who else was on that show?
I could look it up really quick.
John's gonna goggle it. But John, as a bit of a Ellen and I had just started dating, like very very early. Ellen and I dating, and John sneakily used the picture of Ellen in her UC cycling kit as the
Oh, it was Mitch.
oh, it was Mitch. It was Mitch,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
oh, there you go. And used Ellen's photo as the cover. So that was kind of that's a little Easter egg. If you go back and look at that, that was Ellen back in her UC cycling days. So
Grease the wheels a little bit there.
yeah, right, exactly. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Always looking out for me. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of changes over 200 episodes, 4 seasons. I mean, we're getting ready to close out season 4, and things are a lot different with us. Things are a lot different with our lives and where bikes kind of intersect for us and the things we're up to with them. But the whole world's different 4 years, 200 episodes on. Everything's kind of changed, and I think that and the testament to how we keep adapting is part of the story of the gravel lot. It is part of the through line that is us. I mean, we don't ever want to be static as human beings. I don't think that makes sense. And I don't think y'all want to be static as human beings. So I think as we start, John and I start to sit down in this holiday period, it's always a time of reflection for many people. Thanksgiving, granted, you can think all the things about that, but a lot of people use that time as a time to reflect on things. And we're around a lot of our family, chosen or otherwise, this time of the year. And it allows you to reflect on where you're at. And I think we do that at TGL. So this is my first thing I want to kind of touch on. Please, very legitimately, we want to hear from you about where we're succeeding and where we can be doing better. We want your feedback very legitimately, because we are talking and thinking about what season 5 looks like and where we want to go. And John and I, we're doing a SWOT analysis, we're doing strategic planning, legit, because I like that stuff. And that is going to happen, but we always really appreciate y'all and the way that you think about our show and where you think our strengths are. So give us that information as we kind of continue to think about where we need to be.
And in all reality, where TGL is now has been formed by you guys, whether it's overtly or covertly, as you make this much content, whether it's live streams, it's podcasts, it's videos, it's Facebook content, all of those things are learnings. You figure out what works, you figure out what doesn't, you figure out what questions work, you figure out what questions don't work in the moment, and then you see how those episodes do and what the listen time is and all of that stuff. there's one commonality among 4 years of TGL, and it's that there are no sacred cows for what this show is. Because if it's what you guys want and it's what you guys get inspired by and want to listen to, and then not only that, we don't we don't want to necessarily make content just for you. We want you to make content that you love so much that you want to share it with your friends and engage with it on a deeper level and be bought into listening to other people's stories and seeing Doug and I as a kind of vehicle that can bring you something that you didn't know about Jeremy Powers or a Jake Wells or an Amanda Batty or insert person here that we've interviewed over all of these years. So that's where I feel like, since the pandemic has happened, our listens have been down. We've made really no bones about that, and we know we lost some people during the social justice movement and some of the things that we did or said during that time. Cool, that's fine.
Deuces.
Frankly, in those situations, like if it's Doug and I sharing something about how we feel the world can be a better place and a more empathetic place, and you want to peace out, like cool, bye. But the more kind of depressing drawback from our perspective in terms of hearing that is you guys started to check out of social media a little bit and you started to be less engaged. And so we don't have as much of a communication line with you guys as we've had in seasons 1, 2, and the beginning of season 3. So that's where I would love to challenge y'all out there to, show up in the chat, show up in the comments, and show up in the direct message or the contact form on the website or wherever it is with like, hey, I remember when you guys did this, it was awesome. Or I'd love to see you guys make content about, I don't know, bike maintenance or like anything, like whatever the ideas are. Like I said, there truly are no sacred cows, but I'd like to think that we offer something very unique to the podcasting sphere. And I think total downloads in terms of where we rank on Apple is like, it backs up that you guys enjoy what we're doing. So I think from that perspective, we're doing a pretty good job.
And I don't think this is, I don't want to turn this episode into a self-assessment because we're going to do that. But I think one of the things that I'm most proud about over the past 4 years is not necessarily what John and I've done with this show, because it's not really important. John and I have made a ton of really, really good friends through this show. And I'm so thankful y'all know who you are. You are all become an immense part of both of our lives. Like people that we are our ride or die. Like, what's up. I've got your back. That being said, the thing I think that is most inspiring is how many relationships outside of the John and Doug relationship with our guests that y'all have established with other people, whether they're parasocial, just through the internet and whatnot, but the community and the relationships of the people that we've introduced on the show to you has been truly inspiring, because I know that some of you have created relationships with other people whose stories have resonated with you. And I want to keep bringing that to you in some fashion. So, those people that you want to learn more about and you want to hear more about, that's the sort of thing that I think is powerful. It is certainly powerful to me. It has built so many friendships. As we say, we have like 200 new friends. Some of the people we already knew, but we're deeper friends. But we have 200 new friends, and that's kind of hard to manage, but absolutely excellent. We hope you have 200 new friends. But I think that brings me to kind of what we wanted to do today. And we're going to kind of keep this tighter today. And that's, we don't have someone here today. It's John and Doug, right? It's us. And we don't get a lot of time to talk about John.
I was going to say, we've had 2 glaring outages on the gravel lot in terms of
I've not ever been on the show.
Storytelling.
Right? And you've not ever been. I mean, we've been on the show, but This is our favorite topic. To be very clear, our favorite topic is ourselves. So we like to tell our stories and our perspectives, but I think it is something that we don't get the chance to do because while we may editorialize like all good podcast hosts, and try to draw those parallels, we don't get to tell our stories. And so we've challenged each other this week to ask questions and have conversations and tell stories around our spaces, so y'all can get some of the stuff that maybe we've alluded to previously, but never really told in full, or things that we may not have ever asked each other. Now, John and I know a ton about each other because we spent a lot of time in cars together and a lot of time on bike rides, but some of that stuff is fun. And I think that y'all would enjoy hearing a little bit about us. I think that's what we're going to do today, and share each other with each other and with y'all. So I don't know, buckle up or hold
No,
on.
you're
Or,
here. You know what you're in for.
you
It's
know what
not it's not gonna be anything new.
right. No, no, it's not at all. So, John, do you want me to kick it off or do you want to kick it
I'll
off?
go first.
Okay. All right. Cool. Cool.
So
Cool.
all right. So
Stretch over
there
here.
have been multiple stories of you sharing your kind of entry into bikes. And I think it's perfect to start with this because it's the same question that we ask everybody else. How did bikes become a part of your life? But how did you go from being energetic little kid Doug to I want to be Greg LeMond, I'm pretending that I'm Marco Pantani? Like there's a
Okay. Good. Good.
big
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
big arc in that. And you don't just get I know you well enough to know that it's not hard for you to get there to go to
Mhm.
11, but please elaborate for
Sure,
for the
sure.
folks
No,
in
I
the
think
back.
that's a legitimate question, and I think what we should do, John, is I think we should turn these questions back on ourselves.
Okay.
Like, so, because I think it's important, right? You haven't told that story specifically. Like, I know it, but you haven't shared that. So I think we should turn these questions back on ourselves. We'll try to figure out how to do
Okay.
that in a reasonable amount of time. So I got into bikes just like everybody does, right? Kid, you got your crew of your bike gang of friends and you're riding around, you're doing stuff, you're having bike time, right? That's a thing I think that everybody kind of gets into in some fashion. At least it was for me growing up in the 80s in Connecticut. And I lived at the town that was at the base of a big hill that like went over the hill into the like to the top of the hill and then down the hill into Hartford. So this area called the Farmington Valley. And I like could ride to my elementary school. Not that my mom would ever let me, because that was not reasonable. The roads were not safe for that. But I rode around a bunch with the neighborhood kids and with my friends, and that kind of was like a thing. I got originally had a like blue sort of BMX bike, but had like ape hanger handlebars, which I then switched out for like more BMX style handlebars, but it had a banana seat. It was Bass Boat Flake Blue. Don't remember the brand.
It's probably the same one we all had because
Right.
that was the same well
But
actually that's kind of the same color of my new state
right,
black
yes.
label.
But it was way more royal blue. It was like super
Right.
royal blue.
Right.
So, but that bike, I wanted a BMX bike so bad. I wanted like a BMX trick bike, but that's not what I got. I got the banana seat, right, with the sissy bar in the back. But I still tried to think it was. And the geometry is not set up to be a BMX bike, but like I would try to yeet it off anything I could. And right, like that was just kid stuff. I then ended up getting like my first, like, I got a 10 speed, which was, I believe, a Nishiki 10 speed. And that was kind of a big upgrade and rode the snot out of that. And then I got my first like mountain bike. And that was, I think, a Ross. Um, but it was like very early on in mountain bikes, cantilever brakes. I had no idea what I was doing
Right.
with those. And, you know, super upright position. We're talking very, very late 80s, early 90s, just some knobby tires, right? It was a, you know, a Univega or a Ross or something. I don't
Sure.
remember. Um, and then I don't even really remember how it happened, but I think it was the Tour de France. Le Monde was like the dude. And here he is, like an American cyclist. And it was a story in the newspaper. You didn't find out anything anywhere else if it was, unless it was in the newspaper. And my
Yeah.
mom was like, oh, look at this guy. He's riding bikes. And I just fell headlong into this. And
Is this the year that he won coming into Paris in the TT?
yeah, for sure. I said, what year was that?
Is that 86?
Hey Siri, what year did Greg LeMond win the Tour de France? Let's see what Siri says. Okay, I'll go to his Wikipedia. Thanks, Siri. I will check it out. I will check it out, Siri. No, not it's. I know it's Giving Tuesday, but I don't want to donate right now. All right. 80, 84, 85. Yeah, that's probably like about when I like was like, okay, cycling's cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Because then American network TV had a reason to cover it because we actually
sure.
had an American, and that's the only way that somehow it makes whatever.
So like I was like, okay, this is like a thing. This is cool. And I think I like started following it then, and I started like reading, bike magazines and all that sort of stuff. And then I started following like, okay, what is going on with Greg LeMond and what's this team? To be clear, I still have my Z cycling jersey, which was the first cycling jersey I bought that I bought for myself when I was in high school.
Well, and they've been remanufactured too, but you have the original
No,
wool.
well, yeah, I mean it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not wool because it's acrylic, because it definitely was a knockoff. But like I was like obsessed with Greg LeMond and that situation. Like I wanted the like definitely 90 when he won his third tour was like the Scott drop bars on bikes, like where they had
Yeah.
like the bars that came across on the bottom so that you could like hold. I wanted that on my bike, and I started saving up to buy a race bike. And now I am late junior high, getting ready to go into high school. And I'm like, I'm a bike racer. For Christmas in 91, my dad paid off the rest of my Cannondale R600. I had been saving and mowing lawns and like reading performance bike catalog and like, thinking about all the things I would buy with all of my winnings from all of my racing or whatever the
All
hell
the
was
socks that you would trade
right.
in.
But I think to your point that you said, like I am a person, and one of my friends said this to me last night when I called them and I was talking to them about some stuff. They said, you are the person who will fall headlong into something. If you get energized about something, you will learn absolutely fucking everything you can about it. And you will go absolutely insane learning all those things. And then you'll like freak out for a couple minutes, but you got it because you've gotten all this information, you've gotten all this knowledge. And that's very much how I operate. And my mom looked at me one day and was like, how do you know any of these things? I was like, I don't know. I just started reading about them. ADHD, much as we now know.
Yeah.
But so I got really into
cyclists.
what?
Common
What'd you
theme
say?
among cyclists.
It is. And so I got that R600, and it's black. I still have it. It's black with hot pink lettering and white splatter paint. And I rode that thing up and down the mountain from my house to Hartford, and thought that was training. I thought I was Marco Pantani, and just rode my nuts off as hard as I could every day.
For calibration, this bike came into your life when you were how old?
So that's a 91 or a 92.
Okay.
I think it's a 91.
And it made an appearance at your wedding in August of 2021.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was there.
Yeah. Still alive and well.
Yeah, 30-year-old bike. And frankly, also when I got back into bikes and was here and you were like, let's go do a road ride, what did I show up with, John?
That bike.
I rode that Cannondale. It was very uncomfortable.
You complained a lot, for sure.
It's not correctly sized for me. We stopped many times to adjust it.
Yeah. That's okay.
How high can this quill stem go? Where's this bike
just pops out?
Yeah, before I lose steering and we just go off the side of the trail.
Right.
So that's how I like fell down the rabbit hole. And then many years later, and I think we covered on Phil Darden's episode, I moved to Alabama. I had a really stressful job and I needed to find something to do. And some friends of mine, Hero and Phil invited me to go mountain biking with them. And I was like, oh yeah, now I remember why I really like cycling. And I got like super bit by it again. And that's it. I had hung up my bike after I was at Indiana University because I never really got to ride the Little 5, which was part of why I went to school there. But I never really completed my training. When everyone decided they had to go to Florida for winter training, I was like, I don't have the money to do that. I'm a freshman. Like, this isn't a thing. I can't. My parents are not paying for this.
Right.
So I got away from it, and then eventually loop back to it. And that's how we find ourselves here. All right, so that's a long-winded explanation of how I got into cycling. But how did John go from little kid and bike into the space we are
I'm
now, or at least get to the point where
probably
you found it?
I'm probably more the classical story of had a bike as a kid, rode it around, did skids, jumped curbs. The times where I ended up getting new bikes is my dad was tired of replacing tires, or I
Pretty.
bent or broke a wheel. I was thinking about it this morning. The favorite bike that I ever got was a white. I'm pretty sure it was a Huffy, but it was like
I think
white
Huffy was very
mid
common
mid
mark that time.
90s
Yeah,
BMX bike with plastic 5-spoke
bags.
wheels.
Yeah.
And it had like red, yellow, and blue graphics with padding everywhere. And like I was happy that it was red, like within a year of owning it, because I crashed so hard so many times on that bike that there was like my blood all over the padding on that bike.
It's awesome. It's just like how you hide that from mom. Mom has no clue. Mom's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
okay?
I mean, well,
Fine.
I've told the story of how I learned how to ride without training wheels for the first time,
Well,
and
tell that again, because I have that as a question. So tell that story
so
because it's real good if people have not heard it.
I don't ever remember riding training wheels because I feel like I viewed those as like, well, why do I need those? I'm just gonna go ride a bike. So my birthday's in December, Christmas Eve. So like getting a bike for your birthday is not conducive to just like going out and celebrating and going and learning how to ride a bike in the snow
Not in
down
Ohio.
northern Ohio.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of my first pedal strokes were in my parents' house in Findlay, riding around the kitchen, through the down the hallway, through the living room, back through the kitchen, and leaving marks all over the floor and probably making my mom insane. But it was not that dissimilar, because when I had Tonka trucks, I would like when I this is how, tells you how small I was. When I was real little, I would put my knees into the back of a Tonka truck back when they were all metal, and I
Oh
would
yeah,
paddle
yeah.
myself around, and I would scrape up the floor in the exact same loop that I eventually was riding my bike around in.
Let's be clear. Once you've designed a good cyclocross course, you've
Yeah,
designed a
don't
good
change it.
cyclocross course.
Don't
You just
change
keep
it.
turning laps.
Don't mess
Yeah,
with
turn
perfection.
laps.
I
Turn
already
laps.
had a groove burned in.
Right.
But the thing that I realized about doing that is that it's just like riding the rollers. Is you have walls on both sides of you. So riding down a hallway teaches you really quick how to stay balanced on a bike without really any penalty. And then if you do fall, you fall on the carpet. So I'm pretty sure this was my blue metal flake banana seat bike. Riding around in circles in the 2-car garage, and in late spring, my dad opening the garage door, and my parents' house in Findlay was probably 10 or 12 feet above the street, so it was pretty
I've seen it.
decently
I've seen it.
sloped
Yep.
driveway. And when you're a little kid, a sloped driveway just seems like Ventoux. So it was like the first part of the driveway was flat, and then it arced towards the street. So I'm riding and making my circle bigger from the garage, and then coming out on the flat part of the driveway, and then my dad says to go further, and I crest over kind of the edge of going down the driveway. I have no idea how to brake. Didn't really have like, I knew how to go in circles, but I didn't really, probably hadn't put it together as to how to go left and to go right. And my dad's work truck was parked halfway down the driveway, and I rode straight into the grill of the S10, under the truck, under the skid plate, and I ended up somewhere like under the engine block of a 89 S10.
Yeah, it's how you get the
S10 work
first
truck.
car
And
accident out of your system.
yeah, get it out of your system. And I remember when I told the story on the show, is I ended up retelling my dad that story. And he was like crying, laughing so hard, because then he was remembering how hard he was laughing the first time it happened.
Of course.
And then remembering that like I wasn't scarred by it must have tickled him even further. But all of my childhood, it was like the ragamuffin stuff of riding around the neighborhood. Let's make a loop out of this block, and you race all your friends, and everybody's equal when you have single speeds, and then somebody gets a 10 speeds and starts to kick everyone's ass, and it's not fair, you're cheating and whatever. But never any racing or anything like that. And then high school, that's when I got into car racing, and then it was wait to get a driver's license and travel the country playing race cars, and no bikes were to be had. I had a decent mountain bike all through high school that I took to college. It stayed in my storage closet all through college. I mean, I maybe rode it around my neighborhood, the like cul-de-sac, I don't know, once or twice just to get it out and make sure that it's still shifted. And then once I graduated college, my best friend from high school came down to Cincinnati to go to med school at University of Cincinnati, and he had just purchased a new bike and was telling me it would have been like 2005, so the Trek 1000 aluminum first year that they had the carbon fork for like $700. His 8-speed shifting, decent components, all like name brand components all around. Like it was crazy deal. And then he was telling me all these stories about, growing up with his dad riding bikes and doing all of these events and doing charity rides and the Hancock Horizontal 100 and all these things that were in the community that I grew up in that I never knew existed. And I was like, damn, that sounds cool. And, I'm just out of college with, a $30,000 a year salary and $60,000 in college debt.
I got so much money. I'm rich.
So much money that I don't know what to do with. Like, let's get into bikes. And so
I can still see that salary from where I'm sitting right now. I'm like, yeah, I remember you.
It started as like, I'm curious about what this is, and so I went to the Trek store, and I think very much in how my adult life has gone is once I make a decision about something, I am in on that decision. And that first visit to the shop was they had a flame orange Trek 1000 in my size, 61. I got a helmet, I got shorts, I got a jersey, I got shoes, I got clipless pedals. I got all of it right away. So then first ride was from his place in Oakley to Loveland and back, which was 34 miles down the trail. Not anybody that's ridden it knows that it's not a difficult ride, but it's more of just the time. Anybody that's coming into the sport cannot give enough credence to just that saddle time. It's like, the best way that I can describe it for anyone that doesn't really know what it is like learning how to play a guitar, where you pick up a guitar and you can only play it for so long before it feels like your fingers are going to fall off.
Except so in this case, it feels like your hands are going to fall off and your junk is going to be left on the side of the road.
It's funny to think back to that first ride, because it's the same complaint that I still have about bike rides, is that my shoulder blades right at the base of my neck and the base of my neck hurt.
You should see a PT about that.
Same problem. I know.
I'm just saying,
I need
you
to
should
find
see
a good PT.
John, you should find
Do you know anybody?
Not really.
Okay.
I have one recommendation.
But so from there, it was like what is it? You're a leader looking for a group, or whatever the cliche is like I had discovered that I still loved riding my bike. Just like I felt the exact same way on that ride that I did riding around with my friends. And like we had a couple times where like during the ride we'd be on the bike trail and he would like pull ahead and then I would pull ahead and suddenly we'd be racing, and you feel like you're 24 going on 8. Like that never goes away. And then from there, it was trying to like figure out where you fit in. And eventually I got comfortable to the point where I would ride from my house to my job at the time at US Playing Card, which was in Norwood, which was only 5 miles. And then somebody at work saw me riding into my office and saw my bike in my office and said, well, I do this charity ride every year. Would you want to be a part of it? And maybe we can ask somebody here. Do you know who the right person to ask to be would be to see if we could have a team bicycle bicycle charity team? I was like, yeah, I know exactly. My boss is who that person is.
That seems like the direct line.
Yeah,
Yes.
which became the foundation of 5 years in a row of me doing the MS 150 Venture the Valley with Team Bicycle, and obviously 5 years in a row of winning best jersey design for the MS 150 ride.
Hold on. John's just going to toot his horn here
Yeah.
for 1 second. Beep, beep.
Yeah, ring the bell. And then so from that, the first year of getting ready to do it, 2 days back to back, 75 miles each day. I don't think I ever actually did 75 both days, whether just by weather or just not wanting to do it. Going on all of the training rides with all of my colleagues and really building a bigger network of cycling friends and learning some of the cycling routes in this area and just building that camaraderie that I like knew was there, that I had experienced in auto racing, that I had experienced playing basketball, playing all of the sports, and you figure out the little world and fiefdom that is within that sport or that that type of world. And like I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is like, these are my people and they're into what I'm into, and they like want to nerd out on technology and components and help me learn how to like properly feed myself on rides, because I had no idea how to do that, and I was still 24 eating like I was 12.
Occasionally you still do that. That's
yeah,
okay.
I do. It's part of my charm.
Snowballs and Coca-Cola.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. They're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Coke and donuts. That's the
Coke and donuts. That's
but yeah, and I think from there it was like that was for me the point of like, oh, I'm like, I really enjoy this and I like the challenge and I like, I like pushing myself. And then one of the last training rides that I was doing before one of the last Venture the Valleys that I did, I broke a front derailleur, and I was a couple hundred yards from Bio Wheels in Madeira, so I was almost home. I was like, okay,
all you got to do is, where you live in, like where you are now.
Yeah. I just
so
had
all
to get
you had
down
to
the
do
hill.
was like go down the hill. You
Right.
didn't need to shift.
And well, and I mean, with the front mech, like you can still get home. Like I was in the small chain ring, like I could have gotten home, but I knew that Mitch was open, so I stopped in, and Nate Miris was the only one there. It's like, where is everybody? Because the whole shop is empty. And he starts, telling me about cyclocross, and they were at Harbin Park that weekend. It was one of the Cincy 3 weekends back in the day. And this was the Sunday, I think, Sunday morning. And he's like, oh yeah, the pros race at 3 and 4 or whatever. So I told Amanda what it was, and she's like, wait, people race bikes like that? I used to ride my bike like that as a kid for fun.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't know that people race, so we're like curious about what it even was. So we get there just in time to see Katie Compton smashing the field in the women's race, and then Jeremy and Ryan and Tim in the men's race.
Full slugfest.
Yeah, like I was like, this looks dope. Like these guys are going way faster than I can go, but like this looks like a lot of fun, which is then like where for me the bug, and I approached it exactly like you just described, of like, find the 9 Ball Diaries on Amazon Prime, watch it incessantly, watch Behind the Barriers incessantly to learn as much as you can, learn who all these people are, learn all the technology, like learn everything possible about it.
Send fan mail to Jeremy Powers.
I have that. I'll have to share that with you guys at some point.
That's good. It's good. There is actual fan mail.
I reshared it with him recently, so
he loves it.
It's good.
Great. He's home. We're homies now. It's okay.
And saved up to get a cross bike, and then put the road bike on hold, and then started racing cross, and that was where I think it went from like a hobby to like, call it an obsession.
Yeah.
For me. But the cooler thing about that is it takes you from a community of like your charity ride world to the bike racing world, which is so many more people and so much more diverse and
Well,
curious and invested and engaged in what's going on.
so I've got like 1,200 follow-up questions. What's really good is all the questions that I wrote. Now, to be clear, John and I did not share these questions with each other ahead of time. And what's very funny is in telling these stories, John has like kind of touched on a bunch of things that I want to go back and ask questions about. It's like I'm interviewing John. It's very good. But you just said something that I think deserves a moment of pause and a moment of introspection. You said the bike racing community is so much larger and so much more diverse than the charity ride community. I call bullshit on that. That's not true. I say the charity ride community is way, way, way bigger than the racing community, but it is a completely different community. And sometimes the two communities don't talk.
Well, yeah, and I think that's where choosing my words carefully is probably not being successful. And when I say diverse, I think I'm looking at it in terms of there's crit racing, there's cross racing, there's
Sure. Oh, yes. Diverse in that way. Yeah. Everybody's using different types
this,
of things and
the
doing different stuff.
the same sort of complications happened, and maybe maybe my experiences are like introvert experiences that I became close with my Team Bicycle charity ride team members, and I wasn't good at going outside of that world.
Mhm.
To the point of when I started racing cross, I always tried to, this was before Amanda started going with me, when I was going by myself, I always made it a point to like actively make myself uncomfortable and like say hi to the people that were next to me, which for anybody that is an introvert, you understand how difficult
Yes.
that
Yeah.
is in a
Yeah.
new environment where no one knows you. You don't really know all the norms, you don't know all of those pieces of it, but because for me it was new and it was interesting and it seemed like something that I was gaining passion about, all of those new intricacies and like curiosities only made me that much more thirsty to go learn more about it.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think
definitely you. That's
from that
definitely you.
perspective, the experiences for me of meeting new people added diversity to it. Um, outside of the, like I said, the small like colleagues that I was riding with Team Bicycle. So
Interesting. I
you're right.
appreciate that like
A lot of the
clarification from that
same
perspective.
a lot of the same challenges are there. A lot of the
Sure.
same weirdness is there. I think charity ride folks get viewed a lot the same way that how we kind of passively make fun of triathletes, because it's like well,
I
if you're gonna ride
John,
all those miles, why don't you try and race? And
I
it's
actively make fun of triathletes.
I know.
It's not passive.
Well, I mean, I feel like we passively
Short socks,
we
people.
make fun of them. Well, short shorts too.
Well, hey,
Um,
look, it's if it's more
but
comfortable for swimming or running, I get it.
yes,
Yeah.
I think that the charity ride world is a lot deeper. I think it's a lot more of a tapestry of people than true bike racing, which makes perfect sense as to
hmm
why
hmm
the gravel world has exploded, because it's just the modern charity ride.
Bingo, right? Like this is the interesting piece of this, right? Like while you were having a diversity of, and cyclocross might be the most welcoming space to walk into, at least especially in the time you were there.
Oh,
Like
I did a road
the,
race too, and
yeah,
before
yeah.
doing cross, it was not
Ugh.
bad.
No, and cyclocross, especially, yeah, not, still isn't. As we know, current day. Thanks, everybody. Fine, take the biggest team. Don't talk to them. At any rate, if you are going to cross in this space, right, it is more this diverse experience where there's welcomingness. And I think that while there's welcomingness in the charity space, I feel like the charity funnel's bigger, right? So how do you get that charity funnel to like get into racing, the cool things that are fun about racing, whether it's mountain bike long distance events where it's just you against yourself, or whether it's gravel, or whether it's cyclocross, right? You then like, as a person who is super into cycling as the thing you wanted to be good at doing and having fun doing, you kind
Right.
of leaned into that space and it fed you really, really well. I mean, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have gone to do a cyclocross race.
Right.
So
And I
thanks
think those
for ruining my
paired
wallet.
those paired experiences, you're in charge of your own decisions.
That's not true. Let's be
um,
clear.
but I think those paired decisions in terms of like just becoming an adult during like my beginnings of like taking cycling seriously and learning how to be an adult and engage with people that I didn't know, which was uh, to think when I first bought that Trek 1000 that I would have a podcast talking like for multiple hours to, athletes and Olympians and local advocates and everybody of all kinds about bikes and advocating for it and being comfortable doing it. Never would have crossed my mind. But I think
There weren't
in
podcasts then.
in now you're being like semantic. Um but in thinking about those experiences of coming into cyclocross green, not knowing what I didn't know, not knowing really much of anything, but really just being passionate about going out there and getting, 10th to last or whatever that I was doing in my Cat 4 races, I feel like gives me a little bit of a superpower in terms of talking about it and being accessible now after going through those bumps and bruises and learning those
Yeah.
things. And I think that's where it's easy to forget what those experiences were like. That's why, like, for all of you guys listening there, that's why for us it made the most sense to start with how did bikes become a big part of your life as our first question, because it's easy to talk to insert athlete name here about their last round of results or their
Sure.
last year's national championship or whatever that you know them for most recently and what have you done for me lately. But if you can ground somebody that seems like they're doing a different sport than you and you're idolizing them at a borderline level, but you can still take them back to when they were learning how to ride a bike and crashed a bike, like that's relatable. And being a new person in any sort of environment, whether it's you've been a lifelong cyclist and you decide to go into the pits at your local racetrack, like having somebody there that can help guide you through that and help you not get run over and know where to be at the right times and know how to have the most amount of fun out of that experience. Like those things are important. And I think it's easy to take those all for granted when you've been doing something for so long and not not let yourself buy into your own hype about how
Mm.
how you gained your knowledge about
Yeah.
cycling and feeling like that somebody else needs to go through the same challenges that you did to access that information.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of being a boss. It's a lot of like, and I don't mean like a boss. I mean like that's like being a leader in those spaces and being
Yeah.
a boss and managing people. Like, right, you gotta humble yourself before that. And I love that like those spaces still ring so true with you, and they ring true with me because I'm a slow fart. So like that's just my entire experience, and like I just kind of live at the back, and it's okay. And I think that that is good. I'm glad I'm not fast. I'm glad I'm slow. And I'm glad that like I have flashes of brilliance and that's all I get. Because
Bike racing stressed me out, man. Like,
yeah, dude, yeah, because you were good enough to kind of be good and I'm not.
yeah.
And it's all right. So like,
Yeah.
right, like if you've got one of the other, it's like I'm like, cool. It's the party. Like, can I put more beers in this Camelback? Like, and it is definitely like feeds both of our personalities in that way, in a different way. And I think it's kind of cool that like we find each other and temper each other in that way. You encourage me to go do things that are way outside my comfort zone, and I remind you to just have a fucking beer. So sometimes we influence each other in positive spaces in
it's
that.
it's interesting to think about your and I's relationship, and anybody that's listened to this show for any length of time, I feel like will back this up, that you and I are separate personalities, but our combined kind of thing that we're able to create with this show, like it's probably one in a million, in the sense that somebody that is there's a lot of things that you and I have in common, both from an interest level and a personality type level, but our core wirings are how we express ourselves in the world could not be any different.
Violently different.
Yeah. But to your point, somehow I think the reason that it works is you and I are able to have conversations that are difficult and to disagree with each other and to realize that there's a reason why we're disagreeing and to try and hear the other person out.
Yeah.
To hear where somebody's coming from, but also in situations where your anxiety is ramped up, mine is probably in a position to be able to calm you back down, or vice versa. And I think somewhere in the middle of you wanting to be the center of every piece of attention and me always wanting to be the wallflower, somewhere in the middle is like a normal person, like the normal level of like wanting attention and wanting to like kind of sit in the shadows.
Yeah. Probably. I think that that's like where most normal people are, and that it's not like, and it's okay. But like what we found is our space where we both have figured that out. So I want to go back before we psychoanalyze ourselves too much, right here on the show, because there are a couple things that were questions that I wanted to ask you, and I want to touch on them real quickly before we get out tonight, and let everyone enjoy the fact that we've made 200 episodes and go listen to their favorite episode as a bonus tonight.
Tell us which one is your favorite episode.
Exactly.
I think that's because
That'll
I still need to do that work too, because it's
John.
I feel like it's like
John. That should have been your last question. You know how this show works. We've been doing it for 200. You know what the final question is. Why did you not save that? Save it.
I'm just emptying the barrel.
Just right here. So you were talking about how I had the question about you telling your story about your dad about hitting the front of the truck and going underneath it because it's so 100% actually you, like it's the you that I know.
Proud moment for Dave Woolery there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure if I brought it up to him right now. So you said you were not scared at all during that period of time. Do you remember the moment and the moment that you were most frightened on your bike? Like, do you know what that moment was? Like, is it stick in your brain?
There's only one story coming to mind. And it goes back to that white bike and bleeding on it that my brother and his friends, so my brother's 2 years older, so I was always a guinea pig when it came to
send the little kid over, see what happens.
If
he lives, we're good.
Yeah, there was a wooden mailbox like 3 boxes down from our neighbors that was like the tallest mailbox on the street, which isn't really saying much. But they said that it was impossible to ride your bike underneath the mailbox and not hit it.
No.
I did it the first time, slow. And then the triple dog dare was, I bet you can't do it at full speed. Also, this is I'm going to say that this is late 80s because I probably was not even 10. So definitely no helmets.
Oh, totes, no helmets.
And I nailed it the first time by probably a ½ inch, but I didn't factor in how your body bows up when you're trying to pedal hard the second time. And I probably missed it by, a ½ inch.
So you rail your head on this. Why are you
right at the crown of my head?
Oh no.
And it's a head wound. So it looks way worse than it is.
What were you more like? Were you scared that you were dying, or were you scared that your mom's going to kill you?
No, I was never scared that my mom was going to kill me. I was scared that my dad was going to be pissed, or that I like ruined my bike because I was literally I look like not WWE. What was the hardcore wrestling?
WCW.
Yeah, but there was a
like
whole
where they would hit each other with barbed wire.
Yeah, that one. I looked like one of the wrestlers from that because it was literally like my whole face was covered in blood when I came back inside. And my aunt, who was my brother and I's babysitter at that time, because this was summer, like she just turned like white as a ghost when I came inside, which then immediately made me panic even worse because now I was worried like, oh, I was a kid, like blood's gonna come out of your padding on your bike, throw it in the washer, it's fine. But then thinking like, oh my god, now like I made Barbie sick, and like what am I gonna do? And like just like that to me is probably the most panicked. um I mean, like, I'm not a great mountain biker, and like steep drops and things like that make me really uncomfortable because I feel like my center of gravity is already pretty high, so I'm fighting against a lot of stuff there. And my lack of ability in terms of like understanding body positioning and stuff like that. But I tend to not put myself in those situations to where I feel
Right,
really
right. Yeah.
uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
um, that's probably it. Yeah, being a kid, doing dumb stuff.
Hmm. That's good. That's
Still
good.
pretty smart.
I mean,
I
smart
still have a
enough.
pointy head too, so it didn't like flatten it out at all.
Shave that part off, make it more aerodynamic. It's a shame, right? You
Yeah.
can cover
So
that.
I have one more for you before
Okay.
we
All right.
before we go out.
All right.
Um, I think everybody's aware, and we talked about it again when um, oh, I'm drawing a blank. The guy from Sorba that got you back.
Oh, Phil. Phil.
Phil, yeah, Phil Darden. Um, that he got you into advocacy and
Hmm.
all of that stuff. But I think it still bears a little bit of probably further explanation for people of what was the stepping stone, or what was the impetus that made you actually feel invested enough to get involved down there in Auburn. But then when you and Jackie moved back to Cincinnati, what did you go through? Like, give people an
Hmm.
idea of the process of, I just came to this town. I'm sure that
Yeah.
there's something. How do I find it? How do I engage with it? How do I become a part of it?
Yeah, so very quickly, like when I was living in Alabama, like I had the best neighbors and the best community. The community of Camp Central Alabama Mountain Peddlers, just fantastic. I just like adopted them and was like, I don't know, I'm going in the woods with these guys and we're gonna do some stuff. I built a bridge over some swampy water. I'm out there, using power equipment in the rain. Like, I don't give a crap. It's fun because I'm here with these dudes who are just like, let's get this done. I met some amazing people. Hero, just amazing dude, has an awesome spot. Hero and Lindsay, great folks, bought a spot down in Brevard. Hank Albritton, just all of these amazing people who helped me like join that community. And we had so much fun. So I would come back to Cincinnati at least once a year. And one year I brought my bike back. And I was like, cool. I know my friend Ryan Clough, who owns Dubworks, which is a place I used to work here in Cincinnati, a Volkswagen Audi tuner at the time, and like Volkswagen Audi service shop here now. Definitely the best in the city. If you're in Cincinnati, need Volkswagen Audi service, Porsche even, go to Dubworks. Cannot recommend them highly enough. Um, hey, shameless plugs. Um, Definitely also the best boss I have ever had in my entire life. Ryan Clough is the best boss that everyone who's ever worked for him will tell you that. But I was like, hey, Ryan, let's go riding. And my friend Tom McKenna, who owns LA Bread, best bread in Cincinnati, with my friend Patrick, absolutely excellent. Tom was like, cool, I'll meet you guys. Let's go riding. And if anyone in Cincinnati knows Tom, Tom is like one of these people who's just like a monster of riding. And he's just like, has
Anytime
no
he
off
says,
switch.
anytime that he says that he's joining a ride that I'm on, I get real. Like, you're asking about like being scared on a bike. Like, hey,
Anxiety.
Tom asked you to join his ride. I'm like, oh man,
It's like
really?
automatic because he's gonna be like, I got this sketchy route that we're
Right.
not supposed to be
It's
on.
not long, and then you go like you get home 6
100
hours
miles.
later.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's a whole thing. You've had to like, negotiate with the Vietnamese, like
Right.
in,
Right.
in the Mekong
Yeah.
Delta. You're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's a whole
Yeah.
process.
It's Goonies 2, essentially.
Yeah,
Every ride with
exactly.
Tom is Goonies 2.
And so I'm like, sweet, we're going to Mitchell. And we go out there and we have a great time. But I just can't do anything. I cannot ride anything at Mitchell. I can't get over the foundation. I'm like all over the place. I keep stopping. They're so much better than I am. They're so much faster than I am. And I'm riding like pretty technical stuff in Alabama. It's just I'm out of my head. And a year later, I moved back and I was like, well, here's the people I'm going to ride with. This is what's up. Um, And I was scared. Like, I was like, I know this stuff. This isn't really what I like. I'm not really into this like cross country stuff. I prefer trying to like do more gravity stuff. Like, I like going fast down. I hate climbing. That's not for me. I'm out of shape. I just want to go fast down. It's basically the story of my life. Um, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So I got back to Cincinnati in 2014 and I started searching around. And there was like the IMBA chapter that like worked on stuff. And then there was this group called Riding Forward. And I was like, well, these people seem to be doing what I kind of want to do, which is like community outreach and like trying to get kids on bikes and trying to figure this out. So I reached out to them and I got connected with this guy, Brady DeLong, who long Brady DeLong story short, turns out to now be a member of the Cora board and just joined this year. So, hey, Brady, what's up? And he was the first real like person outside of people I knew who was a mountain biker in Cincinnati, and they had built a pump track over in Covington. And I went over there and hung out with him, and we talked about like strategy and the idea of like how do you like grow things. I started to learn a lot about the landscape in Cincinnati, and this place was real messed up. There was a lot of people who didn't like each other and they were arguing with each other, and it was just like the typical bike infighting garbage. And I was like, man, this just is sad that this is what it is. And um there's so many awesome resources. I started riding Davoo, which is definitely still my favorite place to ride. No shame to Mount Airy. But I just started like ride and meet people and started like wedge my way into things. And I just realized that there was still this level of disagreement here over a direction and over the messaging of how this place worked and why mountain biking was cool. Like, the parks didn't like the mountain bikers. The mountain bikers didn't even like the mountain bikers. They all argued with each other.
Well,
It was
that's
like,
because 6 months out of the year you can't ride here.
well,
So
that's
then
true,
when you
right?
can't ride, you just fight.
So you fight on the internet,
Yeah.
right? And I back that, but I just was like, this doesn't seem like the community that I came from in Alabama, where everybody was so tied to each other, because it was a small community. Like Auburn and Opelika, that area is maybe 60,000 people when school isn't there. It's tiny.
Yeah.
And like, you can't piss anybody off in that community or you're ostracized. See you later. Like, you're not part of this community. And so I was like, why does this place not operate the same? And I think that feeling of, this is what I did down there, and this is the community that opened its arms to me, was like, when I came back, I was like, wait a second, like, there's an opportunity. And it is a large part to people like Brady and like Butch Farrell, who sight unseen opened their arms and their time to me and said, hey, let's get to know you, and what are you about, and what are you interested in? And having conversations with them about like, how do we do better as a community, that was like, okay, there's work to be done here, and this is a thing that I can do and sink my teeth into. And so within a year and a half, I was like, I don't know, I'm going to run for the board of this local organization and see how I can fuck it up. And that's where we end up now. Things are very different in this city from that perspective, and very different in my life. And that is not due to me. That is due to the hard work of a ton of people, all understanding that they needed to row the boat in the same space. But it was a space that I knew that I could affect change, and that I could bring a little bit of the love that was shown to me when I got back into bikes, and bring that kind of philosophy back to a place that was struggling figuring out its identity in that space. And you know what, the identity the organization and this community of Cincinnati, as far as mountain bikers, has in the past 2 years has changed.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's not due to me. That's due to this community changing and the leadership of other people. And that's wonderful to see, but it's always going to grow. And it feeling like, being part of that is been wonderful. And it's exciting to see, it brought me my best friend, right? Like, it brought me you. I wouldn't have you if it was not for that. And for Butch Farrell linking us up, like, but it's awesome to see communities continue to grow. And I think that that ultimately fed what we're doing here is how do you grow community, whether it's you, John, seeing it from going from working in the charity community and doing that and building your narrow community in that space, and then activating in the race community and being like, okay, this is what's up with this, and how do we like change this race community? How can I build on that? I mean, I think this is where you and I found our like simpatico lane. And I think that that is the thing that like kind of got me embedded in Cincinnati, was like, okay, there's work to be done to build a community of people who care about each other.
Right.
You don't have to
Yeah.
like everybody, but you got
Well,
to care
yeah,
about
that's
each
what I
other.
was just gonna say is that that change was not without pushback. But I think in for me
But
meeting
everybody wanted it. Everybody clearly
correct, and
wanted
that
it.
and
They
that's
just
what I
didn't
was
know how to talk.
that's what I was gonna say is for me in meeting and talking with Philip and listening to him tell his story both on the show but then green room pre and post recording, the thing that he can bring to the table, which I feel like I didn't know you before you met him, but I feel like he's really responsible for, is that he has a very calming way about not only explaining something, but explaining to you the process of how to get there, and then to make you feel like you're already a part of it. And I think when as as I was getting more involved in racing and starting the ritual, and looking for ways to be involved more deeply in the community, that's when Butch came into my life, and then not that long afterwards, you did. And seeing what was going on, is it very much was everybody was saying the same thing, but they were all yelling at each other and not kind of listening to each
Yeah.
other. Is they were, and it's by no fault of anybody's, is it was just that for 25 years the mountain biking and the cycling world in Cincinnati had just kind of been pushed aside, so they were left fighting for scraps of everything, and every little foot of trail that they got was a hero's welcome to whoever could land it. So the idea that you could go in front of the Parks Board and pitch for Mount Airy trails was like, no way, they're not going to want to do that. But it's because there wasn't anyone that was like, no, look, we all want to do the same thing, but we need to put the right people in the room to have the conversation or to stand up at the
Mhm.
podium and make the pitch. And we need to put the right people behind building the deck to give to the person to give the pitch, because we're all too close to this and we all care too much about it, that the minute you get any sort of pushback, as you're going to get in a public forum, to make sure that public money is being spent where it can get the most juice for the squeeze, that you don't freak out.
Yeah.
And I think that there's so many nuanced things that can come with you becoming a part of Cora, with Butch being a part of Cora, with every single board member that I've known for the last 15 years that's been a part of the organization, has brought something unique to the table. But I think for where we are now, the Farrell era into the McClintock era into the Birkenauer era is so, it's going to be so seminal for mountain bikers in the entire tri-state area,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a groundwork laid of the mountain bikers, and natural surface trail advocacy has a plate at the table, and it's because the right people were put into the situation to be successful. Not that any one person did something special, but
No, for
that
sure.
that the people that were already there were then put in a lane to where they not only were successful, but they really, really loved what they were doing, which made all of that seem so much easier and less like the reason people stop doing charity work is because they're being put in situations where they get burnt out and they're doing things that they don't love, or
Right.
they're doing too much of it.
Sure, sure. And I mean, I think that's clear, right? Like, I think that that's one of the things that's hard to combat in that space. And I think, that's, we try to avoid burnout in what we do here because this is important to us. And we understand that, like, bringing you the stories of having people succeeding in their spaces and making things happen is very important to us because we want you to take the nuggets of what these people have and what they're building, get inspired and do your own thing. Doesn't have to be their thing, but do your own thing in your own space, but to do it in a way that doesn't let you burn out. Because I've done it. Like I definitely like have had to trail off, but now I found a nice like good spot and a nice groove to be in where I can balance other things. And we want to keep doing that with the show, and want to keep inspiring you to do that in your life, because nobody who listens to this show doesn't care about cycling. If you do, that's amazing. And please tell us why you continually listen to us when all we talk about is bikes and advocacy and all this stuff. But like, since we're all kind of on the same wavelength, how do we stay healthy and engaged in this space and do good work, but also take care of ourselves? Right. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned over 4 years as we've done this, is like, how do we do that? And I think you and I are uniquely suited to not take care of ourselves. We are
Hmm.
uniquely suited to go in as hard as we possibly can and not take care of ourselves. And I think that that is good and bad. But it is certainly an object lesson for anyone who listens to us, about the danger of doing that and also the reward. So walk carefully as you go through this space, and think about that. I think if we think about our stories, that's what we do, whether it's riding bikes or racing cars or designing stuff. Like we all have our own, things we're going to grind on super hard. And just remember to take care of yourself through this stuff, because I think that's what allowed us to be in year 4 and to go into
Yeah.
year 5,
Yeah. Yeah.
so dude, this has been awesome to spend some time just like talking and telling stories about like our history and the things that are up, like how to eat an hour in like an hour, apparently. Time is, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as we wrap this week's show, I think both of us still have to have, the final question. I wonder what it's going to be. Um,
I'm not sure. I've never
this
asked it.
this is one last chance to say thank you for listening today, last week, last month, the last 4 years. Um, I mean, we legitimately can't say it enough that this thing has been a passion project that has turned into an archive of our lives, in terms of tracking us from not being in good positions or living through
Mm,
horrible things,
yes.
sharing them with you guys, learning how to share ourselves, learning how to listen, learning how to be more compassionate, be more empathetic. All of the things that come with just listening to people tell stories and being intrigued by them and trying to pull something out of them. They will change you over time. So thank you so much for being a part of that and being party to this with us and listening with us, just because I feel like you guys are just as much of a part of this as we are. Um, and I mean, realistically, without you guys,
You poor bastards. You
yeah.
poor
I
bastards.
mean, if you guys stop listening tomorrow, we would probably keep making it anyway. But you guys, your feedback, your input, all of that stuff is really what keeps driving us forward, and is going to continue to make this show more dynamic and more applicable to what you want it to be. So like reach out and be a part of this and help drive it forward for the end of season 4 into season 5 next year, and tell us what you want and throw some challenges at us. Like, we've done a lot of different things, and we want to know what you think. Like, are there some things we should bring back? Are there some things that we shouldn't be doing, or whatever? So, in addition, as we said at the beginning, as we said in the intro credits, as we're going to say in the outro credits as well, we encourage you guys to slide over to our partners and thank them for helping sponsor the Gravel Lot. They are people that give their time, their money to help us do and bring this thing to you, while also making amazing products and being amazing people that, like Doug said in the intro, they're all small businesses. They're all family-run businesses. They are all people that make amazing products that we think you guys should be a part of, and they're supporting us. So we want to reach out and say you guys should support them too. It's the holidays, so get some cycling stuff for the cyclist in your head or in your life.
Fine to buy presents for yourself.
Yeah, it's okay. Just they're from Santa that way.
I have new overalls downstairs for me.
Are they from Santa?
Santa Santa bought them for me, I think. Santa and my Capital One credit card bought
Right.
them for me.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
weird how he figured out how to steal your identity like that.
it's amazing. Well, I mean, it's Santa. It's
He is
magic.
Santa, yeah. He
He's
figures
Santa.
out weirder ways to get into your house.
Oh dear God, he's stolen my wallet. So first off, massive thanks to our friends at Be Free Ride Bikes Cycling Apparel, producing amazing, fully customized and custom tailored kit that you want the way you want it. Whatever your needs are, they can produce it for you. Custom fabrics, custom colors, custom designs. They can do all of that. Head on over to bfrbcycling.com and take a look at how they can help you, your team, your friends, whatever you've got brewing for 2022. Head on over bfrbcycling.com and hit them up. They can get you sorted out.
And to Dan and everyone at Grown Poor Brothers Coffee. Hopefully you guys know by now, but click the link in the show notes. Head to grownpoorbrothers.com now. Get your hands on premium hand-roasted coffee that supports great causes that mean something to the folks at Grown Poor Brothers, but should also mean something to all of you because they are all either cycling specific or cycling adjacent. And they just make the world a better place because they're giving to things that help move the world forward. So go to grandpoorbrothers.com, go to the beans page, check out what all of the different blends are. Either pick by what flavor you want, what type of bean you want, where it comes from in the world, or what the specific cause is, because a portion of every single bag that's sold helps go to fund those specific causes. I mean, it is truly the definition of putting your money where your mouth is. So go there, support an amazing company, drink amazing small batch coffee. And if you sign up for the subscription service, you will get a free bag of coffee when you sign up for, I think it's a year, right?
Yeah, and like there was a Black Friday deal, but you probably missed it if you're not on the live stream. So that's what's up. Go
Eh,
make something happen.
it's whatever. It's always time for great coffee.
It is always time for great coffee. I need to get back on my grind. Literally. Hey.
Zing.
John, do your hands get cold?
What?
Do your hands get cold like
Always. I'm the person that has the what is it, Raynaud's, where like my ring finger and my pinky will turn white.
Yeah, that's true. It's happened on rides. You know what you should probably do?
What should I do?
You should probably get some new hand-up winter gloves because guess what? The winter gloves are back.
They are,
folks,
and they're in stock. They're off of
they
the
are
boat outside of the Port of LA.
Troy had to row them completely around through the Panama Canal, up the Ohio River.
Listen. I am the captain now.
Troy's the captain now, and he has rowed things up to Chattanooga to make sure that you can buy some new hand-up gloves. Go in, get the winter gloves, get some snow sport gloves, get some golf gloves for the future if that's what you're trying to do because you're really desperate for spring or you live in Florida and are battling crocodiles. Do whatever you need to do. Crocodiles, right? Or alligators?
Are there crocodile gloves?
Nope, they're alligators. What's in Florida? Alligators or crocodiles? Alligators. Crocodiles are in Africa, right?
I just assume everything that's
Gators
crazy is
are
in Florida.
Florida gators. Florida
Gators.
Sorry, got it.
Gators.
Gators.
Anything that's wild is in Florida. That's all.
That's basically people. Florida man. Florida man's in Florida. At any rate, go to Chattanooga and buy some hand-up gloves.
Listeners.
Make this. That's fine. That's whatever. We've eliminated some Florida listeners. It's probably okay. We see you. We're listening to you, Spencer. So go check their stuff out. They've got amazing snow gloves, golf gloves, bike gloves in all variety. But click the link in our show notes so that you can save 10% off all apparel by using code Pebble $sign at checkout. But you got to go to the link in the show notes, do that, and then you can save 10%. Pebble $sign. Hand up. They've been with us forever. They're amazing. Shout outs, holiday greetings to all y'all down there.
So last mention, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, thegravelot.com. Find us, subscribe, notifications, all that stuff everywhere. Do the things. Subscribe to the podcast. Share it with your friends. Send us what you want us to be doing. Like, do you want us to come to your town and lead a gravel ride? I'd love to do that. That was a blast doing it in Alma. Do you want us to come do I don't want to say an open mic night because that won't go well. But lead a Q&A before your gravel ride, or like I don't know. What are the ideas that you guys have? Like how do you want us to help engage with you guys better and be more a part of the broader cycling community, cuz that's what we are all about. Or do you have an idea for a podcast that you think would be amazing? Let us help you figure out how to bring it to the world. I mean, that's where Girls Moving
Sure.
Mountains came from. Um,
Absolutely.
so reach out. Let's figure out how to make all of this stuff more awesome. Let's figure out how to make more people engaged in our community and keep from what Doug was saying and burning out the people that are already doing some of the work. So reach out to us, send us a contact form, hit us up on any of the social medias, subscribe to all the things, find the live stream 6:30 p.m. every other Tuesday. Hopefully you can find it by if you follow our social medias, because we'll tell you when it's coming, or the little notification thing will tell you when it's coming. And just be a part of this thing. Let's all continue to ride in this car together. I don't know who's driving, but we're all in it together.
Whatever. We're just all holding on. Just like there's some kids in the rumble seat. They're bouncing around. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
They'll be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So yeah, it's like this is pretty on brand for this episode. Is like we're just the 80s kids who are under the back seat just like riding in the car. We don't care who's driving or where we're going. We're just rolling around on
Growing
the
up
floor.
because we're facing the wrong way. We've been eating
Yeah.
candy for like 20 hours.
Getting like a weird sunburn because you're in the back window and you're only
Yeah,
getting like
exactly.
partial sun through the
Everybody
magnifying
had that
glass.
friend. Everybody had that friend or was that friend who had the wagon with the backwards facing seats in the back of it. So for sure.
Yeah.
So our intro and outro music is from Waterboy, but he changed his name. What is it now?
Water.
Water. Spelled
Water.
funny though. WATR, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like isn't
Excellent.
there like a drink company that's named that? Water.
I don't think so. Not at least whatever. Don't
They don't
Google
make
it.
as good of music as he does.
No, they definitely do not make as good of music as he does. But go check out Water. Many thanks to him for all of the awesome music. We're so thankful to have it for the season 4 music. I think we're gonna keep rolling with this. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Check this out on all the major platforms. Check the link in the show notes. You can get all of his music if you want to do that. So John,
Mm-hmm.
let's wrap it quick.
Okay.
What do you want the Pebbles to take home from our storytelling today of our own stories?
200 episodes. My takeaway is 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen more, talk less.
Succinct and true. My takeaway is listen to an episode, be inspired to do a thing in your own community, whatever it is, small, big, whatever. Listen to something and take that inspiration into your own community. I guess that follows with 2 ears, 1 mouth.
Well, I mean, yeah, you just described butterfly effect, but I know you don't want to say that.
God damn it. I thought we were going to get through this episode without that. The worst Ashton Kutcher vehicle ever.
But I mean, no, and I think that's
That's it.
It goes without saying, like, you don't have to do something big and ostentatious. Like,
Nope.
Acts of love and acts of community don't have to be like doing the ribbon cutting or, personally building 10 miles of trail. Like, it can be, are you an accountant? Help accounting, like help Cora with accounting.
But if you're using what you said, which is 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen to what needs done in your community and then do that thing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're hearing it and it's an outage, somebody needs to do it.
Right.
It's cool. Get involved. It's awesome.
Or being involved is, well, I'm not good at that thing, but I know who is, and I'm going to find
Bingo.
that person.
Yep. Link them up for sure. Dude, John, this has been fun. We haven't done this ever. It's excellent.
No,
It's spending time with you.
Yeah.
It was like us being in the car for 2 hours, except
Right.
not talking about the crap that we would talk about in the car.
It's the same but different.
Yeah.
It's more
Well,
like publicly palatable, I think.
yeah, agreed. Less inappropriate jokes.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Still some, but less.
Yeah.
Awesome. Pebbles, thank you for being here for 200 episodes. You're amazing. We could not do this without all of you. old, new, if this is your first episode, please go back and listen to a bunch of the stuff we've done. We've got so many great people. If you've been with us the whole time, thank you. Like, it is so awesome to have you hooked on since the beginning. We're so glad that you've been able to grow with us, and we look forward to continue to grow with all of you as we go. We can't do this without your support, so make sure you go to subscribe on YouTube, click the link in our show notes, follow, engage, do all the things that John has asked you to do. Go to thegravelot.com and become a Patreon supporter today.
And I'm going to jump in one last piece for everyone that is new and maybe, scared to go through the back catalog. There are a lot of people that have been listening to this podcast to the tune of, Doug doesn't even know this number, that we have almost gotten to 500,000 hours of listen time to the Gravel Lot in the world. That is an insane number. But just like, when we say thank you guys for listening to us, the idea that I don't even know how many days that is in a row. It's a lot. It's probably years.
I can't.
But the total aggregate amount of time that you guys have spent listening to us talk and ask questions to people speaks volumes to how amazing this community is, and how rich the kind of total human experience really is. So I personally am looking forward to doing this for a long time to come. And I know Doug is as well. And we could not be more happy to be the two people that are putting in the work to bring it to you guys.
Yeah, John, that one hit me hard, dude. That one just wrecked me good. Thanks, bud. Swerved me into the side lane. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Yeah, you're 100% correct, bud. Couldn't do this without all y'all. And couldn't do this without you, John. Thank you. So, everybody, that's all for this week. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and engage, because as you know, decisions and trails are made by those who show up. So if we don't see you on the trails this week, we'll see you next time. Bye, John.
Bye, Doug.
Thank you.